to another mental health moment. This is Tim and Gemma from the Mental Health Hour, and today we'll be discussing the 5 stages of grief. Grief and loss is something that affects all of us at some point or another, whether it be the loss of a loved one, loss of a pet, or just loss of friends, etc. And the 5 stages of grief go far beyond just death. We should make that clear. You can grieve pretty much anything that was significant to you. So without any further ado, let's get into what the 5 stages of grief are and discuss a little bit. Right, so what are the 5 stages of grief? The 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. We know there are now 7 stages of grief or 10 stages. They keep adding them. I like the core 5 stages of grief, especially for something like this where we're just trying to understand what our bodies are going through in times of loss. It gets down to the point of things, what we're feeling: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And Gemma's going to run us through each of those real quick.
Okay, so denial, obviously the first stage, and it's about not really accepting what's happened. Some people can carry on as normal, as if nothing's happened, trying to pretty much block out what has happened. Sometimes, like, you really don't grasp that it has actually happened, and trying to move on from that stage and accept it can be really difficult. It can come at the same time as other things as well, but generally this is the first one. And it's like, especially when someone's died, it can be really hard to come to terms with the fact that you're not going to see them again, and that really is it. So this one, to get over it, is like really quite difficult to come to terms with. The next one, anger. Again, completely natural emotion, especially like after someone's died. Life can seem really cruel and unfair. Like, why me? Why has this happened to me? All the bad things happened to me, that kind of thing. And it's really common to feel for people that have lost a loved one or lost something that was once significant in their life. Then the bargaining side of things, where you can kind of like make deals with yourself, like, or if you can make this right, then I won't do this or that, or I will do this or that, or like, what will happen if, what if questions will, like, if I went back and did this differently, or if I did something differently, would it be a different outcome? Trying to go over it in your mind to have a different outcome every time, and just trying to predict what would have happened if something different would have happened. Then there's the depression of things, like the sadness, thinking about what has happened, how we're going to get over this. Like, the feeling of pain and loss can be very, very intense, and it varies for different people how long each stage can last. For some it can be weeks, months, years even, and there's no limit on how long or what is right and wrong for each person. And it can be quite scary to think of, like, I guess, letting go, and to try and think of that time that may come where you, like, where it feels easier. It's almost hard to think of at that time, thinking like, I don't want to forget them. And it's the thinking about the future that can be pretty scary and cause more and more anxiety. But then when you finally do, and you get to the acceptance stage, I mean, it can still feel like nothing's ever going to be right again. But for the most time, and for the most people, it does get easier with time. And again, there's no right time frame as to what can happen and how it should be and how long it should take for somebody. But you know, for the most part, that's where we want to get to, where we accept what's happened, but we can learn to live with that at the same time without it being too overwhelming.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Gemma, for running us through those. It's important to realize with the 5 stages of grief that these stages can hit at any given time, and they could be out of order. There isn't necessarily an order. I mean, that's how they're listed off. I think you can most commonly see them rattled off that way, and you can transition easiest from denial to anger to bargaining. But everybody's different, and everybody grieves differently, and you may take these stages out of order. But the end goal, as Gemma was mentioning there towards the end, is acceptance. We want to get our minds to acceptance of what has happened, what loss has occurred, and how it affects us. Acceptance is the end goal here for anything like this. So that being said, these are the 5 stages of grief, and we said there are more. There's 7 stages, or now there might be 10, but these are the 5 core stages of grief that we wanted to run through. And maybe at a later time we'll do another one of these on transitioning through these stages of grief and what we see along those lines. So thank you for tuning in, and Gemma, can you take us through the socials?
Yeah, so as always, the bio link that you can see below has all the links to the socials. Everything's in there, including the Discord, which is where we are most able to be reached, and we share a lot of the stuff when we're going live. Anything that's from the show, everything's in there, as well as a really friendly bunch of people to chat to if you need anything. There's always somebody around at some point. The website as well, check that out. New things added quite frequently. And then just as always, don't forget to join those things, then you'll see when we're going live. But that's it for now, so thank you and goodbye.